Okay, we'll learn the Sikha in Chelek Zayin. We're on page 195, Sif Ches. Okay, so here in this Sif, the Rebbe finally comes back to one of the questions that was asked in the beginning of the Sikha. Is the machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon what Vishbati Chai Ram and Aretz means. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it means Mavirim and Olam. They're going to be totally removed. Rabbi Shimon says Mashbisa and Shelo Yezuko. Their nature will change, that they won't anymore harm anybody. So the Teres Kayanim brings a pasuk that it says is a proof to Rabbi Shimon's opinion. Which pasuk? Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos. So that means that the Eibusher will be mashbis. There'll be a Yom HaShabbos where the Eibusher will be mashbis, that they won't harm anyone. So the obvious question that the Rebbe asks is, how do you know? How do you know that Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbos means that they're not going to be mazik? Maybe Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbos means that they were going to be mashbis them completely. So there's no raya from this pasuk to Rabbi Shimon's opinion. So based on what we learned here in the previous Sif, the Rebbe is going to explain this. Let's see. Sif Ches. Al pi anal, based on what we learned before, wird euch werden verstandig. We could now also understand was the Teres Kayanim bringt der Reihe vom Pasuk Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos to das Rab Shimon as Mashbishan Shelo Yaziku. Why is this pasuk a proof to Rab Shimon's opinion that Shabbos here in this pasuk means just that the animals won't harm? Okay, so the answer is, just again to go back to what we learned before, the Rebbe brought from the Gemara in the end of Talmud that it says Yom HaShabbos. It uses a lashon yachid. What does that mean? That it's going to be a period of 1,000 years of Chad Charov. Chad, 1,000 years Charov. As opposed to the other opinion that says that Yom HaShabbos can't be referring to the time of Charov because it's going to be Trei Charov, 2,000 years. So it can't be Yom lashon yachid. Okay, so now, the Raya to Rab Shimon is based on the fact that the pasuk is using the singular term of Yom HaShabbos. Ibalt, as from pasuk Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbos is mochach. From this pasuk of Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbos, it's clear. Leiten pirish as gate of lasad lavai. According to the explanation, that it's referring to Mashiach time, kedas Rav Ketina, like the opinion quoted before here from Rav Ketina, as es wird sein Chad Charov, that it's only going to be one period of 1,000 years where the world will be Charov. Und die Plukte von Rav Ketina, the Abaye is doch tolle Kanal in the Plukte von Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. The argument whether it'll be Chad Charov or Trei Charov, as the Rebbe explained before, depends on whether you learn like Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. So again, in short, just to review what the Rebbe said before, if you say that the taich of Mashbison is that they're going to be eradicated completely, so therefore, we're forced to say that there's going to be two tkufas, two time periods. Why? Because on the other hand, there's the pasuk that says v'gar zevim keves, which means that the animals will be existing, but their nature will change. So we must say that there'll be one period of v'gar zevim keves, another period of mashbisam and olam b'chlal. So because it's two different things, so then it would be logical to say that it happens in 2 different days or in 2 different time periods. By the Eibusher, 1,000 years is a day, so that's why it's Trei Charov, 2,000 years. But that's if you learn like Rabbi Yehuda, that there has to be a second period where it'll be completely eradicated. But according to Rabbi Shimon, that says that all that's going to happen is that the animals will exist, but they will not anymore harm. So then it's lashon yachid. So then it's 1,000 years that this takes place. Kumtach b'meila ois, if so it comes out, as from the pasuk, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos, when it says Mizmor Shir Yom is a singular term, Velachas is mochach as the Charov at Zayin in ein elef shana, that the period of Charov is only for 1,000 years. Is von im oich mochach. From this is the proof as mashbison means not that they will be eradicated completely, but mashbison shleiziko, that only that they will not harm, but they will continue to exist in the world.
You couldn't have both things in one
1,000 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so you asked a very good question. So let's learn how to 31. I wasn't sure if we should learn it or not, but since you asked the question, so we have to learn it. Take a look in out of 31. So again, the question you asked is, does it have to happen in a period, 2 different things of Mashbison, Shelo Yaziku, and Mashbison and Olam? Does it have to be in over 2 periods of 2,000 years?
Mm-hmm.
So in order 31, the Rebbe says, Va'af shegam ladas Rabbi Yehuda. Even Rabbi Yehuda that says that they will be eradicated completely. Ef shaloi machat charov. It's still possible to say that it should all happen in a period of 1,000 years. And the Rebbe already spoke about this in the previous order. But nevertheless, the Rebbe says, Mistaber lahatana shebeteres kainim. The Tana and Teres Kainim that is bringing this pasuk as a proof to Rab Shimon's opinion, he thinks it's more logical to say shebeim yiyeh beis an hagis, that if there's going to be two different time periods of one, the animal's nature changing, and the other, that they'll be completely eradicated, yiyeh beis alofim. They'll be in two different periods of 2,000 years. Valderech kol hashisal fishnid avalme. Just like it is with all other 6,000 years that the world exists, that each one of the 1,000 years represents another level, another time period in the world. All right, so again, just to emphasize this point here, it may sound like a little detail here. You're dedicating 1,000 years for the animal's nature to change. Another 1,000 years you're dedicating for eradicating the animals. It's these two little details is a representative of something much deeper here. When the nature of the animal changes, that's one level of a lakus that's revealed in the world that causes that change. And then when it comes to the second 1,000 years, where there's a level of a lakus that's shaloi lefi erech eilamis on a whole different level, that's why it results in this, that animals are eradicated completely. It's not just this detail. So therefore, it's mistaver. The Tana and Teres Kainim says that it's in 2,000 years. V'adarab, on the contrary, hashinuyim the shisal vishni. If you look at the changes during the 6,000 years, from 1,000 to the next, kulam begeder hanhagas ha'olam. They're all different periods, but they're all within the framework of existence in the world. So there's a certain tzad hashava, there's a certain common denominator with all of them. I want chesed, gvura, teferes. It's still within a certain framework of nature. Ubekol zeh, and nevertheless, kol echad ve'echad b'yom shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'fnei atzmai. Each hanhage, it's divided into different period of 1,000 years, although they're all one hanhoge of teva. Alachas kama v'kama, definitely hashinui de mashbisa min ha'olam shetzarich liyas b'yom b'fnei atzmai. When you're talking about this level of mashbisa min ha'olam, which represents a level of ois welt, a level of a lakus that's out of nature b'chalal, not even to be able to tolerate a refined nature, that's still far the mitzias, but a level of a lakus that's completely mevatel nature, it's for sure going to be in another time period. The first time period when they go back to their original nature, that's not the level of a lakus that you can say that's a true, pure ein oid mulvadai, because that still leaves space for an existence existed in a very refined and pure manner, but still an existence of a welt. So therefore, it deserves a whole other 1,000 years. That's the Trecharuf. Yeah, so we'll be swimming hovering on the waters. Remember, if I mentioned, the Gemara says that the Charuv is a time period when there'll be water, and the tzaddikim will have wings and will be hovering and swimming above the water in this period of 2,000 years. And Beruchnius, this refers to a time period where there'll be such great giluyim that it's going to be mamish, gatlachkeit mamish.
After the second 1,000 years, what then?
Then we come back to the Welt again. Then it will be Shemayim Chadoshim and Oretz Chadosha. That nevuah that we say always in the Haftarah of Shchedish, Shemayim Chadoshim, Oretz Chadosha. Then we come back to Welt, but a whole different mitzias of Welt. That we, after 2,000 years, just like before the Eibusha created this world, it was a Pnei Moyim. Everything has to start with water. Water is the representation of the source of the bittul. Water represents Chochmah. So it starts with water. And then before you come to the second creation of the world, Shemayim Chadashim and Oretz Chadasha, there's also going to be a period of charuv, of water, which represents a tremendous Gilead Lakos.
The charuv is the 7,000 and the 8,000.
What? Yeah, the 7th and the 8,000, correct. But we paskin like the opinion that it's going to be Chad Charuv. So let's go to Sif Yud. Sif Tess and the Sikha here. The Rebbe connects the Teichen of the entire Sikha to the time period of the year when Parshas Bechukoisai is read, which is between Pesach and Shavuos. So, as the Rebbe brought in the middle of the Sikha, that the union of Hishbati Chayram and Haaretz is also related to the Shvisa of Tashbisu Sermi Batechem, getting rid of Chometz. And here, coming closer to Shavuos, is the time when you actually use Chometz to bring the Shtei Alechem. Okay, so the Rebbe connects it to the time period of the year. Let's go to Sif Yud, which is the conclusion of the Sikha, where the Rebbe says what the halacha here is about this, in case you were wondering how long is going to be the Charuv, 1,000 to 2,000 years. In the Plukte von Rav Ketino and Abaya, in this argument, it's going to be whether it's going to be 1 or 2,000 years. Sagt the Gemara, Tanya Kvasei de Rav Ketina. That in the price it says like Rav Ketina that it's going to be for 1,000 years. But from them is mashma. So it seems from this Gemara that as the halacha is Rav Ketina, as es wird sein Chat Charuv, it'll be just a period of 1,000 years. Und wie bald as die Plukte von Rav Ketina mit Abaya is tolui in the machlokes from Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. This argument about 1 or 2,000 years is connected to the argument about what Ishbati means. The argument between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, kumtach b'meila ois. If that's the case, then the conclusion of this whole thing is, as the halacha is Rabbi Shimon, that we're paskening like Rabbi Shimon that says mashbisan shelo yaziku, that only the nature of the animals will change, that they're not going to be mazik. So if that's the case, it seems like that Rabbi Shimon does not tell us that the world's going to come to a higher level of the mashbis completely. We're not going to experience that second period of 1,000 years. But the Rebbe already indicated before in Ha'aris and a little bit in Pnim, but in the Ha'aris that we learned before, that according to Rabbi Shimon, it's not the pshat that he doesn't hold of this higher level. Rabbi Shimon says that this inyan of mashbis and shelo yaziku, you can look at it in two ways. One way to look at it is that it's not the full ultimate Gilui Elokus. The Haraya, it's not eradicating Metzias Legamri. It's not a level of Elokus that's mamish kula kamei kolo choshev, where it's completely mevatel Metzias. It's just bringing back the world to its perfect level of existence when Hashem created it. Meaning there's a Nesinas Makim, there's a Tfisas Makim for Metzias on this level. It's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is, it's not the point that we're going back. When Mashiach comes, the world is going back to where it was then, when the Rebbe created the world. You learned already one of the Ha'aras before. The Rebbe pointed out a few things in Ha'ara 29, that Ha'ara we learned last week, that the fact that the world, Los Adlavi, will be a world where there won't be anything that will be mazik, it's much greater than what was then. It's going to be in Adarabah. This brings out the Shleimus, that there's a Metzias of Welt that Befedish has the nature to be mazik. And it still won't be mazik. It's very different than the way it was in the beginning of creation. Beginning of creation, they did not yet have the nature of being mazik. There was no mazikim. The Nachash was called a shamish gadol, a great servant. And so to all the animals in the world were all there when Adam Rishon said, let's serve Hashem and thank Hashem for everything. They all came and joined Adam Rishon. Right? So they were all serving Hashem. Now, to have a different type of world, to have a world which is lower, which is sinks down lower into a level of klippah, and still to be able to bring Gilui Elokus in that space and in that level, that's actually a much greater accomplishment than what was in the beginning. So therefore, according to Rab Shimon, this concept of Mashbis and Shelo Yaziku is actually the highest accomplishment, not to eradicate them from the world. So the Rebbe will explain what that means over here in Aveda B'Payel. So therefore, if the halacha is like Rab Shimon and the halacha is like Rav Ketina, Mashbis and Shelo Yaziku, so from this we understand how we should apply this in our Avodas Hashem today. So alle Giluyim de La'asid and in Toloi, all Giluyim, whatever will be revealed when Mashiach comes, is all dependent on what we do today. V'maseinu v'avodaseinu achshav, in our Avodah today. Darf doch sein asarusa de l'sata me'en asarusa de leila. So therefore, our Avodah today, asarusa de l'sata, has to be somewhat similar to the level that's going to be revealed. So therefore, what does that mean? As the ikir, ushleimus Aveda, what's the primary focus and what's the completion, the ultimate level of Avedas Hashem? Darf sein nicht ein Antläufen und absondern sich vom Welt. It's not about running away and secluding yourself from the existence of a world. Olam Loshen Helem, and the world which represents the concealment of Hashem. No, rather, what's our Aveda? La'achrei achana, after making the proper preparation. Right, so the Rebbe just Bavan is that. The person can't just say, oh, I can go straight into Welt as I am. No, there has to be a proper achana, to daven, to be connected, to have the dveikus to Hashem. So then after that proper preparation, then what do you do with that? Machen die Welt gufe. Now transform the world itself with its nature, with whatever it contains in it. And what is that? Vaziz doch male klippes sitrachra. As the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, the world is a place that's full of klippes and sitrachra. This expression of mole is a very strong expression that I've in other places is medayik. The word mole means, mole doesn't just mean that you have something that contains something else in it. It's like mole when you have a cup that's completely full with it. Like this is what the Welt is all about. The Welt is mole. It's every corner, everything of the world screams, I'm it. I'm the thing, and it's self-centered. Mole clips the sitrachre. And turn that, into a dwelling for the Eibishter. That's our Aved in this world, to go into the place of Klippe and break the Metzias of Klippe by revealing the truth of the Eibishter in that space, in that world where Klippe is. So this is the ultimate Aved, as we know. I mean, this is Bechlal, the Chiddush of Teres HaChassidus, the Baal Shem Tev, that said, Kisirach Admar Sanachas, Dreves Tachas Masai, what are you supposed to do? Ozev Tazavimai. Don't think that this is something you should just break and stay away from. Ozev Tazavimai, not through Sigufim and Shvira and Tanesim and so on. It's the same thing, Bechlal, to engage the Metzias of the Welt and bring a Lakos into Welt. Und durch dem, let me zeichen sein, zu Kim am Yiyud, will be zeichen to the fulfillment of this promise and of this nevuah, ve'ishbati chaye ra min ha'aretz, zum yoim shekuloi Shabbos u'menucha l'chaye ha'elamim. Yeah. Okay.
The idea of the higher raw has some sort of deep-seated raw that has to be gotten rid of.
Correct. Everything that I was talking about here, this chayra, this deep-seated, you could be applied to the nefesh Bahamas. Either vishbati chayra means that we're going to lasad lavai, like the Gemara describes. There'll be a big shechita. We'll shach the Yetzirah. What does that mean? That we'll shach the Yetzirah. So one way to understand that is mevetam harganen. We'll get rid of him, and that's it. He's gone. But there's another, according to what the Rebbe says here in the Sikha, the pshat in that shechita is different. Why does the Gemara describe a shechita? Why don't we just say that poof, gone? You know, in the Chassidus it says that Klippa is really a metzias of nothingness, hollowness. The Eibishter gives it its koyach to lift itself up. In the Haftarah, this last week's parsha, it says in Tagbiya Kanesher that the Eibishter gives Klippa koyach to lift itself up. But Bahamas, nothing. So when Moshiach comes and the truth is revealed, in Torah in last week's parsha, the Alter Rebbe says when Moshiach comes, the Klippa will be hoya kolei hoya, like it never existed. But the Gemara describes though something else, a shechita, a whole ceremony of a shechita. What's this shechita all about? So what do we know? What does it say about shechita? Ein v'shochat elo Moshiach. The idea of shechita is you have an animal and you elevate and then you shech it. It becomes now fit for a human consumption and it gets elevated back to its sheiresh. So it's the same thing with the Yetzirah. There's a famous Gemara that says, Toiv zeh malacha. No, Toiv zeh it's a Toiv, and Toiv ma'oid zeh malacha maves. That's the Yetzirah. Toiv ma'oid is when you take the nitzutz of Toiv that's stuck in the Yetzirah that fell lower because it has a high sheiresh, and you elevate that nitzutz of the Yetzirah. That's the Toiv ma'oid of the Yetzirah. I think there's also actually a medrash on Pada B'Shalom Nafshi. It's not usually brought in the Yitas Kislev Memorah, but I saw it in another Memorah that it's brought that Pada B'Shalom. B'Shalom is Beis Shalom. One Shalom is Shalom with the Yetzirah, and the other Shalom is Shalom with the Yetzirah. The Yetzirah becomes the source of your Shalom. He's your biggest support. You not elevated him. You bring out the good in him. That's the ultimate revelation of Lasad Lavi. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but don't forget also about the parentheses. Don't forget about the parentheses. La'achrei hachana. Going to the Welt has to be with the right hachana. Learn Chassidus, Davenen, be a chassid, so then you come into the Welt. So wherever you go, you see Gatlichkeit. It's all a lakus.
is going to be no matter what.
Well, okay. What the Rebbe says, it's dependent on Masenu, Vavid Asenu. As Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya. Yeah.
So really, that's what the animals were while we were innate.
When the world was created. Yeah, but this is going to be much greater. That's the whole point. This is going to be to a different extent.
So what is what Shimon saying by that? That's the highest state.
Because
as long as they don't harm, that's the highest
it's
state.
not. So it's not a matter of.
That shows that.
So there's two points.
Anymore,
right.
The reason they never attacked
No. But there's 2 points you have to understand there. Number one, when you say that they're not going to harm, you could understand that means that they're going to have the nature to harm, but like they're going to sort of halzachain. They're going to like restrict themselves. You know, when you say that someone can halzachain, like bederech eskafia, not to harm, that's not such a big oif to. Over here, they're going to be transformed. But the interesting thing is, it's going to be a vel that has the nature to harm. That's really their intrinsic nature, and that nature gufa to harm. What's a nature to harm? A nature to harm is this very fierce nature to be aggressive nature. Exactly. That aggressiveness itself is going to be utilized in the positive. It's going to be utilized to do the good things. The shual, for example, the fox is sly and smart. His wisdom will be used out for positive things. There's a Gemara in the end of Kedushin that describes the animals, the different things that they can do. They have the one that's a porter, and the other one that's the Gemara that goes through different animals, different things that they're good for what you can use them for. Mashiach comes, so the wolf, the lion, all the animals are going to be serving the human beings, serving the Eibishter. So
these poor guys that don't have a big Yitzhak today, then they're not going to have such a big aliyah.
So they say we have to work on having that big Yetzer Hara. Well, the Yetzer Hara, the Eibishter gives us Dai v'hoiser. Dai v'hoiser. And I think we have to work on the other part, the hachana, to elevate it. Okay. Before shchita, you have to tie the animal, and you have to make sure that the shchita should be a kosher shchita. If it's not going to be a kosher shchita, so the hachana is to tie down that nefesh Bahamas.
The poor guys with Rabbi Oster.
Yeah, Tom Rabbi V'Shachte, same thing. Smiling. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So next week, no.